Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and I'm pleased to welcome you to the June 27, 2018 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. As always, we're glad to have people here with us, but we're even happier that with the opportunity to live stream these meetings and show them on our cable access channel 1303 of the new Spectrum digital system, you have the opportunity to watch tonight's meeting wherever you may be, and we welcome you to do that. Now, here in the room, tonight's agenda and all the supporting materials, the same materials that we have, are on the table in the back of the room. That same packet of materials is available for your review on the town's website, www.townofbrighton.org. So wherever you are, you can follow along with us. Let's start with a pledge to the flag, and we'll go on from there. Jason, if you would lead us, please.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very rarely, but occasionally, we do, Spectrum has difficulties with the live audio or video. If you are watching tonight live and you have a problem with either the audio or the video, give Spectrum a call. Their number is 756-5000. That's 756-5000. I would also note that if there is an emergency, you'll hear the town's emergency alarm system activated. If you hear that alarm system, please leave the room and leave the building immediately. You can do that either through the door to my right, marked with the exit sign, turn right, go down the stairs and out the rear entrance of the building, away from the building, or you can go through either of the two double doors in the back of this room, through the lobby, out the main front door, down the front steps, and again, away from the building. As we do every meeting, we want to give the public the opportunity to address the town board, and we do that through our open forum. In a moment, we'll invite anyone here to address issues that they may have, whether or not they're on the agenda. But also, if you are watching us remotely, you can participate the same way. You can call 303-3060. Someone will take your call and share your comment or your question with me. Again, that call-in number is 303-3060. We also offer for deaf or hearing impaired residents who would like to participate in the open forum the opportunity to do so through our TDD line. The TDD number is 784-5205. Again, our TDD line to participate in the open forum, 784-5205. And however you participate, we welcome having you here. Is there anyone that would like to address the board tonight in the open forum? Mr. Jacobson, come on up.
Sherwin Serini, 41 Fernborough Road. Okay. Excuse me. I have been a resident of Brighton for 28 years. Although at times I have disagreed with town actions and inactions, surprising, I have never felt the need to come here to speak. This time I feel compelled to be here tonight. I'm quite dismayed and somewhat outraged by the RTS proposal to eliminate the number 48 bus through Brighton. Public transportation is one of the key public services that make Brighton a great town. If this elimination is allowed to happen, it will affect every town resident, either directly or indirectly. It will also affect visitors to Brighton who work here, whether for a business or to provide a service to individuals such as home health aides. I definitely agree with Supervisor Maley's statements at the last town board meeting, strongly encouraging everyone to go to the MyRTS website and take the survey. I have gone through the myrts.com website a number of times and taken the survey as well as used other communication lines they offer, namely phone calls and a contact form. Every Brighton resident should do the same without delay, as the elimination of the number 48 bus will affect every Brighton resident either directly or indirectly. I believe it is imperative that the town of Brighton government, including this board, become actively involved without delay to make every effort to stop the demise of the number 48 bus for the following reasons. Number one, after speaking with a number of Brighton residents about the matter, I have come to the conclusion that feedback from them to RTS alone is not a solution. Most I've spoken with were either not even aware about the proposal to eliminate the bus. Those who did or who were aware did not show any concern, as it does not affect them directly, or would not agree that it would affect them indirectly, or just didn't care. Number two, the survey on my RTS website is very weak.
Yes, it is.
I'm being polite. And in my opinion, structured to get the feedback they want to hear that supports their recommendations. The survey consists of only 4 questions. Question number 1, which part of the draft recommendations do you like? Check all that apply. It gives 5 choices, and you must select at least one, or will not accept any of your survey answers. Question 3, how often would you ride the RTS? It gives 3 choices to the extent you would be using RTS. But I will not be riding anymore is not a choice. Again, just as in question 1, you must select one or will not accept your survey answers. In my opinion, it would be a huge mistake to rely solely on the feedback of Brighton residents to RTS. Therefore, I have several relevant questions. 1, what has the town done thus far to address the problem? 2, are there any existing plans to address the problem? If so, what are they? Number 3, how does Brighton fund RTS, directly or indirectly? 4, will there be any contingency plans in the event the cut actually happens? For example, offering a jitney-type service along the current 48 route, starting at Highland or East Avenue and terminating at Strong. Which elected official is responsible for RTS? Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great presentation. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm pleased to see we have, in the office or in the meeting here, representative, state representative. I've met with Bill Carpenter. I had a number of concerns. The issue that you raise is only one of a number of issues that directly affect the town of Brighton and beyond the town of Brighton. I have met with him. The police chief and I have spoken because there are some other issues that raise public safety concerns with changes they have made to the bus, to their transit schedule. There are issues with Monroe Avenue. There are issues with Elmwood Avenue. Elmwood Avenue service in Brighton is completely eliminated. That is clearly not acceptable. Monroe, the survey, the study divides the region into 3, an urban, a suburban, and a rural area. If you look at their map, what they consider to be urban and what they consider should have 15-minute service, and I agree with them, that it's important to have service that's frequent enough that people can go to a bus stop without having to consult the schedule. They know that during a given time period, there's going to be a bus coming within a reasonable period of time. That's their standard for their urban sector. What they consider to be urban in Brighton is everything that's within the 390-590 loop. And yet, their service proposal is not consistent with that. They stopped their 15-minute service along Monroe Avenue at Highland. The service continuing out to Pittsford is 30 minutes at best, 60 minutes at other times. And they're right. That stretch of Monroe Avenue meets their definition of urban to a T. It's a mixed-use area. You have commercial uses along the avenue with commercial hotspots, if you will, at places like the 12 Corners, with thousands of residents living right behind them. It is an urban setting for purposes of transit and should have the same kind of service that they do have into the city. Eliminating much of their service to Strong and the U of R, the largest employer in Monroe County, is unconscionable. And it's not only a matter of convenience, it's a matter of equity. The U of R employs people at every range, from some of the highest paid people in this community to minimum wage or near minimum wage people. And if we have in the community become increasingly engaged and aware of the crisis of poverty that Ramapi and others have highlighted, one of the main issues when you have the concentration of affordable housing and other indicia of poverty in the urban core, the jobs aren't there. And people need to be able to get to the jobs. But poverty isn't limited to the urban core. And it's important that people who are strapped financially in the suburbs can get to those jobs, like the vast number of jobs at the U of R. Their whole philosophy, frankly, from outside, once you get into the suburban and rural, is privatize. In one way, shape, or form, they're talking Uber type, they're talking the U of R and other colleges' own shuttle services. That shuttle service is not an acceptable alternative because it's limited, it's exclusive to U of R students. Now, what I don't understand, I can only think of two reasons why the U of R would feel, for example, that they need to run a shuttle from the university out to Pittsford Plaza. One, RTS's service is not frequent enough, and they're right, it's not. Or two, and I sure hope this isn't it, that they somehow don't think that their students should be riding the bus with regular people that ride the bus. So we've had and will continue to have conversations with some of the significant stakeholders. One of the reasons it's so important to me is we have, from a land use perspective, we've used incentive zoning as a job creation tool. It's been a way that the town of Brighton has gotten benefits for the community while also facilitating development that has led to jobs. If projects are approved not on a bus line, many employers in this community have for years paid RTS to provide sufficient bus service. In fact, if you look at their budget, RTS has gotten more funding from businesses, from employers in Monroe County than they have from the dollars that people stick in their fare box. I'm seeing service being discontinued along routes that are adjacent to projects that we have approved through incentive zoning. One, Mr. Greiner, you're very, very familiar with. They are proposing to eliminate service along East River Road to the south campus of the U of R. That, at a time when the U of R's growth trajectory is clearly going to be towards the south campus, is incredibly short-sighted. So I really appreciate you coming out. You are so right. The survey, and by the way, if you do want to take the survey, my understanding is it expires on Friday, I believe, but it's totally inadequate, totally inadequate. What Mr. Carpenter advised me is that this is clearly not the final product. He anticipated that it could be as much as a 2-year process, but I think it is important for all of us. And I'm following up the very extensive conversation that I had with him with correspondence confirming the issues that we discussed. But you know, I think you've raised some real good issues. They're real important issues. Transit, you know, let's go back to Monroe Avenue. People are concerned about traffic congestion along Monroe Avenue. Alternate forms of transportation are the best way to address traffic issues. More people riding bikes, walking, taking the bus, take those single driver cars off the street. And that's what a 21st century community should look like. And there are examples of communities like that. Not all big urban New York City type communities. There are other communities that have had a long-standing, better commitment to transit than we have. We have an opportunity, I think, with Reimagine RTS to improve a system. I think it probably will take more state funding. I think it's important to look at the level of funding for what is, I really believe, a mission-critical service for the Rochester area going forward. So we're all in it together, and we all need to act together. I don't know if I had answered all of your questions in that, so let me know if there's...
Could I just,
Yeah, absolutely.
respond? I just want to, not to correct you, but add to something you said. You focused mainly on Elmwood Avenue. The reality, this leaves everyone on Winton from East Avenue up to Monroe Avenue,
Correct.
up to Monroe without a bus.
Yep.
That affects a lot. As I said, I often see people, daycare workers and such, get off. There are people in the community I know don't drive, okay, for various reasons, and they depend on that bus. So it's more than just
Yes, it
that.
is.
You
You're
also,
right, and I'm
your
glad
comment that he committed to you, it could take 2 years, could be is not, will take 2 years. Tomorrow, we could find out there's no bus running. I mean, I wouldn't rely on that type of an answer. What I'm really getting at is, again, why I'm here tonight. I really think the town needs to be proactive in this whole thing and get involved. That's why I asked, are there any, you know, I understand you answered my first question, what has the town done thus far? Okay. Are there any existing plans beyond what you've done already in place for the town to take care of?
Well, among other things, we've made contact with the university.
Okay.
Because the U of R, and it's not just the U of R, other schools in the area, our IT service is being cut back. MCC, you know, one of the busiest bus stops in all of Brighton is the one at the Applied Technology Center on West Henrietta Road at MCC. That's another corridor where there should be heavier service, particularly because of the opportunity to access both the U of R and RIT and Marketplace, all major job centers for the community.
You're talking about improvement of service, they're not going to cut it out.
Well, for example, they're taking it off of East River Road.
Okay.
They're not only not improving it, but they are cutting it back.
No, I understand, but to me, a greater concern is cutting out
Yeah.
versus improvement. Improvement's nice, but
Yeah.
people can live with it without improvement. Again, the third question, how does Brighton fund RTS? Is it direct or indirect through taxes to the state or whatever?
We do not fund RTS directly. You know, indirectly, of course, the money that the state uses to fund RTS is money that doesn't go to other community needs, but I think that's important funding. But I really wouldn't say that the town directly or indirectly funds RTS.
Understand. The reason I'm asking these questions,
They're good questions.
I want to, as a citizen, I want to see maybe something I can do as a citizen. You know, as I said, you know, in all these years, I've never really gotten involved with this, but this to me is so outrageous what they're doing to Brighton. Mm-hmm. Again, in the event that the cutoff does occur, and I'm not optimistic that's not going to happen in Brighton. You know, will there be any contingency, or could there be contingency plans, such as having a jitney-type bus run from East Avenue up to Strong? And it doesn't have to be the town that actually runs the service. It could be a contracted service. At least put some bids out there.
I've suggested to Mr. Carpenter that if what they're looking to do is reduce costs, I understand some of the routes have less ridership than other smaller vehicles. Yeah, I know a significant part of the cost of operating the system is the driver, but I also know that a 20-passenger vehicle costs less, uses less gas than a 40 or a 60 person vehicle. So it seems to me that there are opportunities there to right-size their service. They do have, of course, some specialized types of services. I think, Monroe Avenue is just a natural for increased service. But I also think that those areas where service is being cut out, like Winton Road, like Elmwood Avenue, are, for so many reasons, too important. But it is certainly not realistic. The town would not be in a position to fund that kind of service. I mean, our budgetary constraints are already serious. I would certainly welcome RTS and would work with RTS to identify options, whether it is outside contracting. But again, I'm very concerned with this notion of privatizing, because when you drill down into what they're talking about, they talk about these shuttles, they talk about what are clearly Uber-type alternatives, and that's not public transit.
Right.
And that's not the kind of public transit that we need to address the very real problems of equity in the system. Expecting someone to pay $5 and $7 and $10 to commute to work when they may be holding two jobs and are struggling to make ends meet is not a realistic. And of course, with the service levels that we've had, and they've done some things, you can follow on your smartphone when the bus is going to arrive. But of course, for folks that are taking the bus, any service disruption at all, jeopardizes their job position.
Absolutely.
That's one of the many things that people who are trying to get to jobs from the urban core out to the suburbs face. So I'm really appreciative that you're coming in. I wish there were 20 of you out here tonight telling us the same thing. And what I would say to you, and what I would say to the other 19 people that didn't come in tonight, send Mr. Carpenter a letter. I don't have his email right at my fingertips, but I know if you go to the website, it's there.
Yep. Snail
Mail, because the survey doesn't cut it. Tell them what you really think. I know I am. I did. I will. I encourage my colleagues to, because it's not going to shut down tomorrow. We know that won't happen. But no, I don't have any definitive assurance that they won't, say, yeah, in 3 months we're going to adopt, this is the plan, done. I don't expect that's going to happen, because I know there are people that have raised a lot of concerns. But whatever the plan is, it's really important that it be internally consistent. This is a high usage and can be higher usage area with better service. That's what we need to do, not cut back service.
No, I agree with that. Again, my last question was, who is the elected official responsible for RTS? Somebody's in charge of them.
It's an autonomous agency. There isn't an elected official in charge of it. Bill Carpenter is the I think his title is Executive Director. He's not elected. There's a board. But who's responsible? I am. All of us elected officials in reality to make sure that the message of people like you gets to them. So at that level, while we're not, you asked about directly or indirectly, there is no direct elected official.
Wow.
But I think we are all indirectly responsible for sharing our, certainly in my case, serious concern with what's happening there.
So there's no real hammer, if you will, to come down and say, hey, you can't do this, whether it be financial?
By the way, I would certainly reach out to our state elected officials,
Okay. Oh, state.
Senator Robach,
Yeah.
Assembly Majority Leader Morelli. Copy, when you send Mr. Carpenter a letter, copy them in.
Maybe I'm a bit cynical after all what you've discovered, what I've discovered now, that I'm not sure how effective. I mean, I've been doing it, I'm going to continue doing it. But
Good.
I'm not convinced how effective it's going to be.
I'm still a glass half full kind of guy. I try to be optimistic. I do think, but they need to hear from people like you, the other 19 people. It is really important. It's going to affect students, it's going to affect the working poor, it's going to affect people needing medical, patients, really the list goes on, but it affects all of our land use decisions. I talk a lot about the goals of Brighton, the core values of Brighton: education, diversity, sustainability, and transit ties into all of those. The diversity of our community, which comes in different ways, socioeconomic. Significant parts of our community rely on transit. Education, a lot of those buses are winding up at educational institutions. And sustainability, the more we can use mass transit and the less people are driving their own passenger vehicles, we win.
If I could make one last comment.
Absolutely.
For the people watching, because when I talked several times purposely about indirectly affecting all Brighton residents. Perhaps it's not, and I noticed when I talk to people one-on-one, they're not quite sure what that means. Well, indirectly, again, it has to do with, sustaining commerce, sustaining business, but on a practical level, and this may hit people, finally say, whoop, that hits me. If you're going to sell your house, one of the big features is having public transportation
Absolutely.
available, even if you don't utilize it.
Yep.
It impacts your ability to sell your house. Just a practical matter.
In New York City, for example, and we're not New York City, but apartments near subway stations
That's right.
rent at a higher level. There's no question that's true here in terms of home prices. It's one of the variables. But and again, it's also for our businesses. The success, the more easily people can get to a business in Brighton. We've got a great commercial corridor along Monroe Avenue. We want to make sure everybody can get there. Obviously, the more successful that corridor is, it improves our tax base, it improves the values of our commercial properties, and so indirectly, it helps all of us.
Absolutely.
There's a great return on transit investment, in my opinion.
I agree. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. You have, if you'd like
Excellent
to
director.
put that in writing, to submit it to the clerk, we'll get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Hearing none, we will continue on with our business agenda tonight. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the communication that was just submitted to the town clerk?
So moved.
Second.
I heard Jason. And thanks for talking to him. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Can I have a motion to approve and file Town Board meeting minutes for the May 23rd and June 13, 2018 Town Board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel,
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. We have no public hearings tonight. Can I have a motion to receive and file the communications with the addition again of the item that we just received during the open forum?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We have a communication required by law relating to the establishment of the Webster Emergency Medical Service Certificate of Need. We have meeting minutes for the month of May for the Brighton Memorial Library. We have one of those good news, bad news ones. Sergeant Walter, nobody calls him Walter, Skip Brusda, is going to be retiring, and he has served us since October 1993,
Right.
24 and a half years. A wonderful, wonderful person, very much involved, I know, in the Citizens Police Academy. Obviously, promoted to the rank of sergeant, well regarded, and he's earned it.
Yes, sir.
So Skip will be retiring as of July 7th. I hope we can set up a time, maybe at the next meeting, if he would like to come in. I know I would like to, the board would like to, and I'm sure the community would like to publicly thank him for his service.
I'll pass that along to him.
Perfect.
Thank you.
By the way, for those that don't know, Captain Mike Desane is with us tonight in place of Chief Henderson. It's good to have you
Thank
here.
you. Just want to add Supervisor Skip Brusda, obviously is a valued member of our staff, dedicated for over 20 years, and if you recall, he was a canine handler for the late canine Eric.
Eric, yeah,
Thanks.
thank you. We also have from Ginger Ruff a request that we have honored the last couple of years. September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And for the last couple of years, Ginger Ruff, former Brighton business owner, has reached out to the town asking us to participate in the National Ovarian Council Awareness Month Turn the Town Teal program. And it's certainly my recommendation that we do this again. In the month of September, you'll see big teal ribbons on the trees, on the light poles, in the 12 Corners Park. And people every year ask me why they're there. It is for ovarian cancer awareness. So I'm certainly recommending that we participate and remember how important it is to find cures for ovarian cancer and work with people who have it. So happy to do that. And then we, of course, have the communication we just received. Any questions on any of those? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll to receive and file those.
Councilmember Vogel,
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Committee reports. Robin, Community Services.
The Community Services Committee met on Wednesday, June 20th at 9:30 p.m., or a.m., sorry, at the Brookside School. Among the issues that we discussed were the installation of the Sway Fund glider. The install should be finishing up on the morning of July 2nd, and we are proposing July 9th as a grand opening ceremony for that very important piece of equipment that will increase accessibility for our playground area. In addition to that, our pool the pool celebration ceremony was held on June 22nd. My computer's failing me. All right, sorry. Our Splash Into Summer celebration was held on June 22nd, and we got a lot of positive comments via social media about the condition, the spruced up
Yes.
condition of the pool area. Katie Titler, our aquatic supervisor, spent a lot of time improving the area, and as did,
Gary Donofrio.
Gary Donofrio with our Parks Department. I'm sorry, I'm really
That's all
having
right.
trouble scrolling here.
Yeah, Gary is our maintenance, campus maintenance person who does a super job.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Our fall brochure planning continues, and those brochures will be out to the community in the second week of August. Also, we began our summer concert series. It will begin on Tuesday, July 10th with the Brighton Symphony Orchestra. Another item of note is that due to construction at Brighton High School, bathrooms for the farmers market have been an ongoing concern. The concessions bathrooms will no longer be available to the public, but we are considering the bathrooms along the back of the high school to be made available during the farmers market.
And they were,
Yes.
that was all coordinated, and the school district did open them up, and they were in use on Sunday.
Wonderful. Our Fall Festival is scheduled for October 20th, and we are working to confirm that that won't conflict with our shredding and pharmaceutical take-back events. But at this time, the shredding was scheduled for October 20th, so we're going to have to look at a separate date.
Okay.
The Winter Farmers Market bids went out. They did come back high. We will be discussing that later on in the agenda, so I'll defer that conversation to that time. We have had good publicity surrounding the new rules and signs at Corpus Glen. There was an article in the Democrat and Chronicle. I don't know if people were able to check that out. And overall, the responses from citizens have been good. We do continue to have some issues with regard to ignoring the signs and people entering the water. So we will be upping enforcement to deter people from entering the water. Matt Beeman, our Parks Director, is also looking to get some new and additional trail markers to guide people to the areas where you can see the water and enjoy it without actually entering. We also had updates to our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Committee formation. We conducted the last of those interviews of interested parties, and we're going to discuss how the committee will be kicked off over the next few days. We are hoping to have some kind of event where we can build trust among members and get the program started. So we're also possibly discussing training or a consultant to help guide the start of the committee. And we are targeting the fall to get the committee up and running. Update with regard to the community choice aggregation law that was passed by the town board. We have reached out to Matt Halliday, and we're hoping to hold a workshop for community education and possibly a multi-town event. And I know that Bill has been in touch with supervisors over in Pittsford and Irondequoit, so we can hopefully get that scheduled in the near term. We have been trying to constitute a beautification committee, and the call did go out in town publications seeking members of that committee. Our response was not overwhelming. We received about 4 interested parties, and so we're reviewing that in terms of interest and seeing if we can maybe, rather than constitute a formal committee, have some other type of community input, possibly through the Community Services Committee, in order to make sure that some of the issues that have been raised by concerned community members will be addressed. Matt Beeman is also working with the Brighton Highway Department to help take over some of the maintenance issues that were expressed as concerns over at 12 Corners Park. Matt has identified $600 within the budget to put towards planting in the parks for this year, and he's also received some estimate for repairs at the gazebo. Those came in around $8,000, and so because we don't have any budget this year for improving, making improvements to the gazebo, we'll be looking at that in the future. Matt will also follow up with Mike Ion, Commissioner of Public Works, with regard to shifting over money from highway that was budgeted to parks for possible repairs of the gazebo. And we also looked at the smoking law, and that we have that on the agenda for later, so I'll defer that discussion to then. And finally, we looked at Buckland Park dredging. We continue to explore that issue because of the area being designated a federal wetland, but we're determining the next steps for the wet areas, and there are numerous culverts right now in the parks that are clogged, creating those waterlogged areas, and we will need continued maintenance on a regular basis. We're discussing implementing a new schedule. Mike, did you want to update us at all on that?
We've talked about it before. There's a culvert over there that's pretty much full of sediment. We're looking at clearing that out, but we also have to do some work inside the ditch. It will require permitting from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, so we're exploring that permitting just to see how much effort that's going to take.
All right.
As I was looking at it, over the last couple days, it almost looks as though, it really is quite flat there for the stretch, including the stretch where that culvert is. As you get a little farther south, the grade does take in, and they're maybe a little bit better
It's
flow, but
yeah, that whole ditch from the culvert down to Allen's Creek,
yeah,
West Branch of Allen's Creek, really needs to be cleaned. What we're hoping to do is basically do sort of a remedial cleaning at this point, just to get the water out of there. But you're right, it's really flat. It's really hard to determine which way the water even flows out there.
yeah.
Whether it
It
goes around
does.
the back.
It does look at one point like it almost.
Yeah.
The grade may even run towards the north, and
Yep. So we do need to do a little work out there yet.
yeah.
Thanks, Robin.
You're very welcome. Thank you. So those were the items that we discussed in the meeting. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, July 18th at 9:30 a.m. at the Brookside School. As always, members of the public are welcome to attend.
Thanks, Robin. Finance, Jason.
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Wednesday, June 20th. Each of the items that were discussed at our meeting appear on our agenda. There were a few items that were for discussion only. First is the bond resolution for the parkland purchase. The FASC discussed with Paula Parker, our Finance Director, her request for town board action to adopt a bond resolution in the amount of $995,000 for the purchase of just over 26 acres adjacent to the current Buckland Park lands. Any amounts over the bond amount will be paid from town funds, either reserved or unreserved, and all bond documents will be prepared by bond counsel, and the bond will be subject to permissive referendum. This is added to the July 11th, 2018 meeting to allow for the seeker negative declaration to be finalized. The other item that was discussed also pertained to the parkland purchase and related expenses. There was a discussion with the FASC, the estimated expense and down payment for the parkland acquisition. This discussion will also identify the capital reserves available and the priority of utilization. The reserves will be utilized and become part of the above-noted bond resolution that will be discussed at the July 11th Town Board meeting. Additionally, we actually also discussed the retirement of the police sergeant that was contained in the item of communications. Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, July 3rd. We're scheduled to meet at 8:30 in the morning, although that's the same day as Public Works. It's supposed to start at 9, so maybe we might need to discuss perhaps moving those.
I'm seeing that Public Works is on for the 10th, so maybe
Oh.
we do have a bit of confusion on that.
Well, I believe the calendar shows them both on the same day, one prior to the other one starting at 8, public safety starting at 8, public works starting at,
Oh, actually, this is
It's
fast,
going to
because
be at
fast,
8:30 on.
okay.
because July 4th is the Wednesday, so we'll be meeting on Tuesday, July 3rd,
Third.
but we're meeting on the second Tuesday for Public Works then, instead of the first Tuesday?
That's correct.
Ordinarily be the first
First
Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay, so there's no conflict.
Sure we got that on the calendar correct? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
let's make sure we get,
The published
notice.
calendar shows.
is it there? Good,
Okay.
thanks.
The 10th.
Okay, so all I have to do is update my personal calendar then. So their next meeting will be on Tuesday, July 3rd at 8:30 in the morning, and we meet in the Stage Conference Room here in Town Hall, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. Public safety.
Public safety now is going to meet on the 10th at 8 o'clock. And we've got Public Works at 9.
Usually we're able to
Yeah,
Keep it moving.
do public safety within an hour.
I'm not an attorney, so I don't talk as much. Brevity,
Point well taken.
brevity is everything, gentlemen. Not you, Robin. You're innocent.
That's right, not being paid by the hour.
I'm not an attorney, so I didn't feel offended.
Try to say things in half the time with the same effect. Right. So anyway, the 10th, 8 o'clock, and the lower level community meeting room.
Thank you. Public Works. Chris.
Our next meeting, July 10th, at 9 o'clock a.m.
Thank you. And
How's
neither
that for brief?
neither Public Works nor Public Safety have met since our last meeting, which is why that's the brevity. Wonderful. New business. Jason, reading and approval of claims.
Yes, earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $899,375.25. Notable claims include to the Monroe County Library System in the amount of $27,421.21. For the first half of 2018, library system membership dues and system costs. Also to the Monroe County Director of Finance in the amount of $10,125.26, representing our 2018 Stormwater Coalition membership dues. Also to Suit Coat Corporation in the amount of $44,917.37, representing crack seal and filler material for ongoing seasonal road maintenance and repairs. And also to the New York State Workers' Comp Alliance in the amount of $58,668.75, representing our third quarter workers' compensation premiums. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Robin, thank you. Any discussion on any of those? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Chris.
The next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute a sidewalk easement and related documents for 2611 West Henrietta Road. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This would be to an easement for sidewalks in front of that building as part of what we hope will be more sidewalks.
Yes.
But, you know,
Yep.
the first thing you have to do is get the
Start somewhere.
rights, the access rights. So we've done that here. Any discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Jim.
Next item is to set July 25th, 2018 as a public hearing date for the proposed declaration of unsafe home located at 202 Norman Road. This is pursuant to the Chapter 51 of the Town Code. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
I'm going to let Mike, because this has been a property that we have spent a lot of time, the Public Works Department, you and Ramsey and Ed, really everybody down there spent quite a bit of time on. If you could just briefly talk about why we're doing this.
Right, we've had a lot of, obviously, interest in the house from the neighbors. The house is in very bad shape. We went out, we've written letters to the owner trying to clean up the area. We had Ed Sherrow, our building inspector, go out and look at it, completed a report and demonstrated that the gable is collapsed, the walls are being bowed. The house is in just very, very bad disrepair. No utilities, the roof, obviously, there's rainwater getting into the house. It's created a very, very bad condition. So what we're asking for, we declared it an unsafe building. Hopefully this will actually entice the owner to take the building down. But it also gives us the ability, if the owner does not react, that we can also move to take the building down, and then, and that's really the hope of the project there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, this public hearing is scheduled for July 25th. And really, with, you know, I mean, we'd have to go through a bidding process, I assume, to identify a contractor if the owner doesn't follow through on
Correct.
demolishing it themselves.
We'll have to publicly bid the project, we'll have to post the house, we'll have to obviously have monitoring services out there for asbestos. There'll be a lot of steps we have to go through.
But this is an important process, and you're right. We hope that the owner, as we've said before, we hope the owner will do it. It's better for the owner.
Yep.
It's probably going to be cheaper if they do it themselves, but more importantly, it'll come down a little bit quicker. But if we have to, despite, you know, we've talked about this before, despite the county's policy, which we successfully challenged in court concerning reimbursement for this house needs to come down. And whether, you know, we expect to be reimbursed, that's where the matter is today, but it simply needs to come down. And whether we have to do it or whether the owner steps up and does it. So we have a motion and a second to set that public hearing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks approval to appropriate $96,384 from unassigned, unappropriated fund balance to account number D.HWY.5130.2.30 to purchase 2 dump bodies for trucks number 58 and number 63. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
We discussed this in finance. This is one of the items Jason reflected. We've got 2 trucks that are, you know, should have plenty of useful life, but for whatever reason, we're not entirely sure why, the dump bodies of these are frontline dump trucks, have just severely rusted out, so much so that when normally we would sandblast them to, you know, enable repainting and all that, they were just, sandblasting just was putting holes in it. So we can replace the dump body itself without replacing the whole truck, and that's what we're going to do.
And the intent is to have dump bodies that we can continue to use after, if we need to sell the trucks, those dump bodies will be able to be placed on other trucks.
And apparently, potentially stainless steel
They will be
Which
stainless steel dump beds, right?
would be much more resistant to rust. Yeah.
And we even discussed all of the different alternatives to see if there was a cheaper way of doing it, but you know,
Yeah, we
the
looked
highway
at-
department and the finance department turned over just about every stone we could.
Yeah, Paula had us jumping through hoops and making it every option we could, and, you know, it was the right thing to do, it just didn't work out, so.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not happy about this, but I don't think we have any alternative. I know they're out of warranty, so that's not an option. And I know you're, doing some work to try to, if there's anything we should be doing differently, but I think apparently we're not alone, and they've literally just been a problem that was out of our
A
control.
bad batch.
Yeah. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is unfortunately to reject all bids and to.
Nope, one
No, no,
before
no.
that.
Approval.
Oh, I moved to.
The next one is
this
good
a good
news.
one. This
This is a good one.
I'd rather give good news, all right. The next item is for approval and execution of Amendment B to the snow and ice contract agreement between the New York State Department of Transportation and the town of Brighton. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And this Amendment B, because of the severity of the winter, will increase our reimbursement from the state for the snow and ice.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. We have snow and ice contracts both with the state and with the county. These are just, we take them for granted. They don't happen everywhere. Lots of counties in the state don't, the towns don't have these arrangements. But the town of Brighton plows the snow on the state highways, Monroe Avenue, East Avenue, East and West Henrietta Road. And we're reimbursed. Our trucks are going down those roads anyway, so it makes sense for us to plow them, and it's fewer trucks that the state has to keep here. It's similar arrangement with the county on county roads, and we get a pretty significant chunk of revenue from that. So, and this year we're getting a little more. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Robin?
I get the bad news.
Yes.
I'll give you the next two. The next one is a good one.
Right. So the next item is to reject all bids and rebid the barn renovation project for the Winter Farmers Market project with a revised scope of work. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not good news.
Well,
Mike, we've been down this road.
Yeah, I can speak to it. Back in December of 17, we bid the project, and the prices came in at about $620,000 for the project. And our budget is probably $300,000 to $400,000 in that range. So we knew we
For
had
this
to
part of the project.
just the existing barn, the renovation of the existing barn. So we knew we had to retool, so we cut out a lot of major components, and hoping the bid prices would go down, and honestly, I had anticipated we'd be well within our budget. So we rebid it, the bids came back in, and they actually were higher. Not sure what's going on, contacted some contractors. Several of the contractors indicated they couldn't get their bid bonds because they had so much other work. So everybody's very busy out there, but the low bid this time was $728,000, almost $100,000 more than what it was before, after we had cut out a significant amount of the project itself. So moving forward, I think what we're going to look to do is basically bid the shell of the building, renovation to the improvements to the shell of the building, and then add in alternates that we'd like to get, so it'll allow us to pick and choose what we can actually pay for and afford with the grant.
And this proposed resolution would both reject the existing bids, but also authorize going back out with those changes. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Apologies, I guess I missed the second.
Jason?
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. And Robin?
Now, good news. The next matter is to set July 25th, 2018 as the public hearing date for proposed smoking and vaping on town property local law. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is something that we have discussed over time, concerns with health, particularly at our playing fields and our parks. Kids seeing people smoking, other family members, being affected by the secondhand smoke, which is real even outdoors. Many municipalities, public, entities, do prohibit smoking from their parks. This will, in general, this will prohibit smoking and vaping on town property in general. The town hall campus, parks, trails. It does allow the supervisor to designate specific areas that may allow smoking, and that's something we'll probably talk about at hearing time. But this would just be setting that public hearing to get input and decide whether to take action on the law. Of course, we have heard from stop smoking groups that are supportive of that, and we'll be reaching out to them to make sure that they know that we've set this public hearing, and to invite them to come and again really explain to the community why they believe this change is important.
The American Cancer Society, I believe, is that, or American Lung Association had.
Heart Association.
And there were a couple of different groups
previously
actually
here.
at different times that have been
Excellent
here.
presentation.
Yeah.
This was initiated by Clerk Dan Amon some time ago.
Yeah, we started looking last year. We started talking about it, and so many things kind of slow developing, but it was kind of inspired by policy instituted by my alma mater back at an event back in Syracuse, and over time they kind of phased it in. But I think from what we have existing on the books, this will be it's a good thing to be able to model behavior for our kids going forward. Really want to, it's falling out of favor, thankfully, as we all get older. But as we learned when the board, put in dealt with that vaping law, other things always take place of technology always moves forward. So this will address that as well.
And in fact, we've heard even more recently about a new type of vaping instrument that is very small, sort of looks like a little thumb drive, and kids are using it in school, and I, this would cover those.
And working with Ken and Ramsey, we did phrase that to be evergreen, so we'll deal with it. Covers future technologies that haven't been thought up yet.
That's the goal. Yeah, good. So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion on that? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. The next item that's listed on the agenda is the approval and execution of a restrictive covenant that we have talked about relating to the proposed Whole Foods Plaza project that would preclude access to and from Clover Street and Allens Creek Road from that property. Mr. Greiner and I were discussing that matter just before the meeting. We have not received the fully executed covenant yet by the other parties. I anticipate that we will before the next meeting, and assuming that that's the case, we'll keep this on the agenda for the next meeting, but I'm proposing that we not take any action at this time. And that's the end of the new business. Matters of the supervisor. Can I have a motion to receive and file the expense and revenue reports for the month ending May 31st? Thanks, Tom.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on those? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Just a couple of things I want to mention. First, Dan, I want to thank you and your election inspectors who conducted a smooth election yesterday. I visited all of the polling places, as as we usually do, with some snacks, but things were going smoothly. As always, we wish there were more people voting, although Brighton's turnout over 30% was significantly higher than the county as a whole. I don't know if we were the highest jurisdiction, but if not, we were very, very close to it. But still, 30% of people eligible to vote in a primary is still not where we would hope it would be. But thanks to you, thanks to the inspectors, and thanks to everybody that turned out, and thanks to the 4 candidates, Robin and the other 4 candidates who unexpectedly, this primary took place, and I think it's good for the community when you have an open seat like this. The discussions and everybody put a lot into the race. So I'm grateful to everybody that made that happen. July 14th, and stop me if I'm touching on an event you're going to talk about, but this is actually not a town recreation event, but it's one of our very close friends, the Friends of the Brickyard Trail, which is a community group that has been formed to really help keep the Brickyard Trail in good shape, make people aware of it. They're holding a tea on July 14th out at the Buckland House. So not only does this event focus on the trail, it focuses on the Buckland House. So if you haven't seen the Buckland House, it's a great opportunity to see it. I think it starts at 4:30. That's a Saturday. And at 4:30, the reason you want to be there at 4:30 is so you can take a walk on the Brickyard Trail with Peggy Dempsey. Peggy is just a wonderful wealth of knowledge about nature and animals and the plants along the trail. She loves the trail. She's on it every day. I'm on it every day. I learn something about it from her almost every day I'm out there. So 4:30, Peggy's going to be leading that walk. And at 5:30, I'm going to be leading a second walk relating to Buckland Park, which is particularly timely given our plans to purchase an additional 26 acres out there. But Buckland Park has a loop trail about a mile, and indicative of, while it's an active park with all of those playing fields and lodges, it's also a place where we have the passive recreation opportunity of walking. So that trail walk is going to be at 5:30. You can do one of them, both of them, or neither one of them and just hang out at the Buckland House. But that's 4:30 on July 14th. Rain date is the 15th. And that's all I have.
Question is that going to be a high tea or?
I only heard tea. I did
All right.
wonder this. I know they're not planning on, cucumber sandwiches. If that's the definition of high tea, then it's not.
right.
But they will have some snacks there too. Matters of the town clerk.
Just building on what you mentioned earlier, I just want to, again, thank all the inspectors and put out that pitch. If anybody is interested in being an inspector or knows anybody who's, talked about it, always longed to be able to be an inspector, call my office and we're happy to put you in touch with the right folks.
The one recurring theme is how much the inspectors enjoy the day. The camaraderie among the inspectors, there's 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, even in a day like yesterday where there was only one party having a primary. It's just wonderful, that they really enjoy each other's company. In a lot of cases, these are people that have worked at the same polling place together for a number of years. But the interaction with their neighbors as they come in to vote really is wonderful. So it's a long day. They do get paid. But I really, people of different ages. In some polling places, there are language interpreters. But they really, the bond, of the primary day. And by the way, let me mention that. because Dave Andriotta wrote a piece about this. It's a recurring issue. On primary day downstate, from Westchester and the city and the island, primary day, the polling places are open the same hours they are for a general election, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. That should be statewide. There is no reason at all that primaries upstate don't start until noon. People want to be able to vote on their way into work or on their way to some other activity. It shortens the time. Anything that lessens access to voting, this is an easy fix, and the hours should be extended. I know there's some cost, but really it's pretty nominal when you think about it. And the benefit of having those polls open. And why would you treat it differently in one part of the state than the other? You know, if the cost is the issue, make it 12 to 9 statewide, but no, don't do that. 6 to 9, 6 a.m., 9 p.m., until we figure out how to really make voting, you know, safe, secure, and electronic, at least give people a better access to it. So I'll get off my soapbox on that.
Board of Elections is working on a number of different, both our Republican and Democratic commissioners here in Monroe County are working on issues towards that, running into some challenges from some surprising groups who are opposing some of these things, and working with our folks in the legislature, Assembly and Senate to try and get some of these laws changed. But there's they've got some great ideas, and I think we're in great hands with, again, our commissioners, both Republican and Democratic commissioners are brilliant and know their stuff inside and out. And
they work
we're in
together.
great hands. Yes, and
That's a
it's
great thing.
phenomenal teamwork in
Yeah.
that office as well.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Anything else?
No, that was it.
I skipped the attorney, as I all too often do, but Ken, nothing? Thank you. Matters of the town board?
That's it?
No? Well, then because I didn't want to step on your thunder, let me talk a little bit about the 4th of July.
Great, okay.
Because 4th of July is coming up, and as always, it is a full day of activities. Starting at the high school at 8 a.m., the Brighton Chamber of Commerce 5K race, and the Pancake Breakfast, which is held in the Brighton High School cafeteria from 8 until 11, $7, but seniors and kids and anybody with a bib from the 5K race, anybody with their number, $5. So you just can't beat that. $5 for a pancake breakfast, $7 for an adult, and really that's a pretty good deal too. So that's the morning. In the afternoon, the festivities shift out to Meridian Center Park. And starting at 2 o'clock, food, music, entertainment, games, the rides, the zip line, the bounce houses. And by the way, those rides and bounce houses and stuff, ride all day, you get a wristband, $20. Parents and grandparents, what a great deal that is. Kids just love it. The Kiwanis Club. This is something the Kiwanis Club started a few years ago and has really enhanced our 4th of July activities. The Kiwanis Club Kids Zone. The focus of Kiwanis is on service to kids, and they do it in so many ways. We talked about the Sway Fun Glider, their accessible recreation equipment added on to the Kiwanis Park. That's a gift from Kiwanis. But this Kiwanis Club Kids Zone has face painting, a petting zoo, the internationally renowned magician Karen Kazam will be there. This is fun. So when your kids get a little tuckered out after bouncing in the bounce house or sliding down the zip line, the kids zone is just the place to sort of calm down. There's some crafts, the animals, so much going on there. And while you're enjoying that, you're going to hear music. At the 5-Star Improvement Music Stage, you're going to start at 2:30. Dave McGrath, Best of Rochester winner. Dave McGrath, longtime Rochester musician. Starts at 2:30 till 4 o'clock. At 4:30, the Amy Montroy Trio. They've been playing with us on the 4th of July before. They are wonderful musicians. And the Earth Tones at 6:30. The Earth Tones play Fleetwood Mac and the Beatles and Van Morrison and all sorts of stuff. Three musicians, but you never know who's going to sit in with them. In fact, rumor has it that our park superintendent may even sit in with them this year. We'll see, Matt, if you're listening. So that's a great afternoon lineup leading up to 8 o'clock, the Sky Coasters. The Sky Coasters play on the Wegmans main stage. And as always, we expect thousands of people to be in the house by then to hear the Sky Coasters, see their great act. Followed at 9:50 by the best fireworks in Monroe County, right over the canal. Obviously, it's weather permitting, but it never, knock on wood, we've been lucky in recent years. I don't want to get too cocky, but we've been fortunate. So hopefully we'll have another great year. And don't miss it. It's wonderful family entertainment and, and a great way to show your patriotism for our country. Any other town board matters? Ken, did we have anything? We have an executive session, a matter of personnel, right? Yes. Can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss a matter of the employment of particular people?
So moved.
Second.
I think it was Robin. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Thank you very much, everybody. The next town board meeting will be July 11th, 2018, 7 o'clock here at Town Hall. Have a great evening.